Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are unpacking a seriously high stakes, behind the scenes tug of war. It's a massive balancing act that literally dictates whether global businesses thrive or just completely derail. Yeah, I'm talking about the wild, fascinating world of inventory management. Okay, let's dive right into this. Quick roadmap for us today. We'll be hitting 5 key areas. First up, the balancing act. Then, decision levels. Third, the perfect world, also known as EOQ. Fourth, something I like to call the croissant dilemma. And finally, real-world review policies. All right, let's kick things off with part 1, the inventory balancing act. First things first, we've kind of got to stop thinking of inventory as just, a pile of boring boxes sitting in a dusty warehouse somewhere. In reality, inventory is essentially everything a company holds onto just to maintain smooth operations. We're not just talking about the shiny finished product you pull off a retail shelf. It's the raw steel sitting at the factory, the semi-finished circuit boards moving down the assembly line, and even the spare parts that are absolutely crucial to fix the machines when they inevitably break down. Now, managing all of this stuff, it is a massive tug of war. Think about it. If you tip the scale way too far and hold too much inventory, you get hit with super high storage costs. Things expire, products become totally obsolete, basically your cash is just trapped. But if you try to get smart and tip the scale the other way to save money by holding too little, well, you face stockouts, and that means immediate lost sales, absolutely furious customers, and just handing your hard-earned market share right over to your competitors. Moving on to Section 2, Levels of Decision-Making. So how in the world do massive organizations actually tackle this crazy, delicate balance? Well, think of it like a set of interconnected gears. You really can't just make an inventory decision in complete isolation. Your big, broad, long-term goals have to perfectly, seamlessly mesh with your minute-by-minute daily execution. If even one of those gears is out of sync, the entire supply chain pretty much grinds to a total halt. To make sense of this, we usually break it down into 3 distinct timeframes. Step 1 is the strategic level. These are your massive, long-term, structural choices, like, say, deciding to design a modular smartphone so parts can be customized years down the line. Then, step 2 is tactical. This is your quarterly planning, where you're setting target quantities and deciding exactly what form your inventory should take. And finally, step 3 is operational. This is the nitty-gritty, daily, hour-by-hour execution. It's monitoring real-time stock and putting out the fires of those unexpected daily exceptions. Which brings us to Section 3, the perfect world economic order quantity. To really grasp how those tactical decisions are calculated, we kind of need a mathematical baseline. Think of it as a theoretical utopia of inventory control. Just visualize the rhythm of a standard sawtooth pattern plotted over time. You see the inventory steadily decline as it's used up, and then, boom, it drops to exactly 0 at the precise fraction of a second a brand new order miraculously arrives. Now, the math behind that perfectly rhythmic pattern is trying to solve a very specific optimization problem. You see, you could place frequent, small orders, but doing that skyrockets your processing, labor, and setup costs. Or, on the flip side, you could place infrequent, massive orders, but that completely explodes your holding costs, like warehouse rent, insurance, and all that tied up capital. The economic order quantity, or EOQ, is the mathematical formula that finds the absolute sweet spot. It balances those order costs perfectly against the holding costs. But come on, is this actually realistic? Well, for this EOQ model to function, you have to accept some highly rigid assumptions. Like, demand must be perfectly constant and known completely in advance. Lead times must be instantaneous, meaning literally 0 delivery delays. Oh, and your warehouse? It needs unlimited capacity. Obviously, in the messy real business world, this perfect little illusion shatters pretty much instantly. That naturally leads us to Section 4, the croissant dilemma. All right, let's pivot away from perfect math and jump headfirst into the chaotic real world, where demand is wildly random and products actually go bad. I want you to put yourself in this scenario. Imagine you manage a small local bakery. Your daily demand is entirely uncertain, and you only get one chance to bake each night. You can't just hit a magic button and bake more croissants at noon if you happen to run out. So, what exactly do you do? Let's ground this problem in some specific numbers to make it real. Say your demand wildly fluctuates anywhere between 60 and 140 pieces a day. It costs you €1 to bake a croissant, and you sell it for €2. Now, if a croissant goes unsold, it basically becomes scrap that you can maybe salvage for just 20 cents. But here's the real kicker. If a customer walks in and you are completely sold out, you don't just lose that €2 sale. You actually incur a 50-cent reputation penalty because, hey, that customer might just go to your rival bakery down the street tomorrow. So the truly crucial point here is calculating the real cost of being wrong. If you bake too many, your excess cost is your €1 cost minus that 20-cent salvage value, meaning you lose 80 cents for every single leftover. But what if you bake too few? Your shortage cost is massive. You've got the €1 in lost profit plus that 50-cent reputation penalty, which equals €1.5. So in our little bakery scenario, stocking out is mathematically way, way more painful than just throwing away some leftovers. To actually solve this dilemma, managers use something called the critical ratio. This is a formula that beautifully balances the risk of excess against the penalty of shortage, all to maximize your expected profit. And the real-world application of this is honestly fascinating. Like, if you're managing life-saving medical supplies, your shortage cost is catastrophic, right? So your critical ratio dictates that you absolutely order high and avoid stockouts at literally all costs. But if you're selling highly perishable fresh seafood with basically zero salvage value, that ratio flips entirely, and your strategy is going to focus heavily on minimizing leftovers. And that brings us to our final part, Section 5, Real-World Review Policies. Now that we've got a solid handle on the deep financial risks of having too much or too little, how do giant firms actually automate these uncertainties across thousands of different items every single day? Well, they typically deploy two main policy families. On one side, we have continuous review. This is an event-driven system where inventory is monitored constantly, in real time. On the other side, we have periodic review, which is time-driven and only checked at fixed intervals. Basically, you watch your absolute most critical inventory like a hawk, while you only check in on your routine items on a set schedule. Let's break down the continuous policy first. This is often called the little s, big Q policy. Here's how it works. An order for a fixed quantity, that's the Q, is triggered the exact millisecond your inventory drops to a precise reorder point, which is the S. But because supplier lead times are never actually instantaneous, and because totally unexpected sales spikes definitely happen, that S point has to include your expected demand plus a really critical safety stock buffer. This whole system is absolutely ideal for those costly, highly critical items where running out would literally stop your entire business in its tracks. Now let's move on and see how this compares to the periodic review policy, known as the Big R, Big S policy. With this one, you aren't monitoring constantly. The system is only triggered every R time periods, so say every Friday afternoon. When Friday rolls around, you then order a variable amount just to top off the bin up to a target level, the S. Because you only check on a fixed schedule, your order quantity actually changes every single week, entirely depending on what's physically left on the shelf at that exact moment. And this brings us to a seriously perspective-shifting realization about the physical world all around us. Next time you walk into a store and grab an item off the shelf, I want you to ask yourself, is this product in my hand so critical that the store uses a continuous safety stock policy, constantly monitoring every single unit? Or is it just a low-value item that gets topped up on a routine periodic order every Tuesday? Once you actually see this hidden mathematical balancing act of inventory management, you are honestly never going to look at a store shelf the exact same way again. Thanks so much for joining me today, and keep exploring the incredible systems that quietly run our world.